The offer was too good to be true for two broke students. $400 per egg. All she had to do was sign the papers, and on the bright side, she was also blessing a family and making cool cash. A two-way win. But what she didn't know was that those papers would almost cost her life. Lindy and Tebo were inseparable. They had met during Lindy's second year at university when Tebo, a fourth-year student, had moved into the room next door. Despite the difference in their academic years, they were drawn to each other's energy. Tebo was the life of every party. Bold, outgoing, the girl who could always talk her ways into any event, any club. Lindy, on the other hand, was more reserved. She had her own circle, but she would rather read a book than stay out all night. They clicked instantly. Tebo introduced Lindy to the world of late-night parties and wild weekends, pulling her along to hang out with guys, dancing until dawn, living the thrill of university life. Lindy had always been cautious, but Tebo had a way of making her feel like she belonged. They covered for each other in their hostel, lying about missing curfews or staying out late during head counts. Lindy admired Tebo's confidence, even if it sometimes led her into dangerous situations. Tebo, meanwhile, envied Lindy's calm demeanor and intelligence. They were complete opposites. But guess what? Their friendship worked. Heck, it was perfect. One evening, after a particularly wild party, they had just sneaked back into their hostel when Tebo casually brought up an idea while they were sitting on their bed. You know, if you're interested in making some quick cash, there's this thing I've been hearing about, Tebo said with her eyes lightening up. You can sell your eggs. Linda raised an eyebrow, unsure if she had heard her right. Yeah, it's a thing. I have a friend who is actually doing it, Tebo continued. They pay well. And it's legit. You just have to meet the right requirements. You have to be under 30, have a good BMI, and have the right genotype. AA is preferred. Lindy stared at her in disbelief. Wait, what? Sell my eggs? Tebo leaned in, lowering her voice as if it were a secret. Yeah, it's easy money. $400 per egg. Imagine how much you could make. The process is straightforward, really. You just have to sign a form and then they check your health and eligibility. I heard they even offer a bonus if you meet all the criteria. The more Lindy thought about it, the more tempted she felt. But doubts began to creep in. What if something goes wrong? What if it affects my health? Lindy said, her voice quieter with a tinge of fear in it. Tebo waved her concerns away. Don't overthink it. It's not like that. They'll check you, and the clinic is one of the best in town. They are highly professional. Besides, you'd be doing it for a short time. Just think of the money you could save up. The thought lingered in Lindy's mind for days. Despite her reservations, she couldn't ignore the temptation. The money could help her get through school, and it was a one-time thing, right? Tebo encouraged her more and more, even helping her fill out the paperwork. Lindy finally agreed to give it a try, more for Tebo's sake than for her own, but with so many doubts lingering. The hospital called them for an initial consultation. Lindy was mad nervous, but ready to get it over with. They met with a doctor who explained the process in more detail. Tebo had already been briefed by her friend who went through the procedure a month before, so she walked Lindy through everything. They would be given injections to simulate egg production, and the retrieval would be done in a small outpatient procedure. The doctor mentioned that for a higher payout, there were stricter requirements: age, health, genotype. Lindy fit all of them, but Tebo, to her surprise, did not. Her BMI was too high. The doctor had told them that they will be going with Lindy. The agreement was signed. It looked official enough, but Lindy noticed how the terms seemed to favor the clinic more than her. But she told herself she was just doing this for the money, and it was a one-time thing. The procedure was set for the following week, and they provided Lindy with detailed instruction on what to expect. She had to stay in the clinic for a few days afterwards, and they warned her about possible side effects: bloating, mood swings, or fatigue. The injection started soon after. Lindy felt strained. Her body felt bloated and heavy. Her emotions were erratic, swinging between irritability and deep exhaustion. She started to notice bruising at the injection site, but the doctor assured her it was normal. By the time the retrieval procedure came around, she was on edge. The surgery was brief, but they told her that 5 good eggs had been successfully extracted. Lindy felt relief. The whole thing felt surreal. The next few days were a blur. She was exhausted, lying in bed while Tebo kept telling her how brave she was. The hospital discharged her after 5 days and paid her in full. But after just 3 days, Lindy felt something wasn't right. She was in pain, sharp stabs of discomfort in her lower abdomen. She tried to ignore it at first, but the pain intensified, and soon she was bleeding and vomiting. Lindy returned to the clinic where they ran some tests. Her heart sank when the doctor spoke to her in a low, concerned voice. Seems like there has been some damage to your ovary. It's rare, but sometimes complications occur during retrieval. We will need to monitor it closely. Lindy's mind raced. Her body was betraying her. The pain was one thing, but the fear of permanent damage was something else entirely. The doctor explained that the ovaries were delicate and one of them had been nicked during the egg retrieval. It was possible she would need surgery to repair the damage. Tebo, who had been so enthusiastic about the process, couldn't hide her guilt. "I never thought it would go like this," she admitted. Lindy couldn't believe it. The dream of easy money had turned into a nightmare. She had risked her health for something that hadn't even been worth it. This was something she couldn't undo. She had to take an entire semester off school to heal. The physical toll was undeniable, but the emotional and physical toll was even harder to bear. Tebo visited her during this time, trying to make amends for what had happened. She expressed her guilt, but Lindy remained cold and distant. Tebo could sense the weight of Lindy's resentment. The guilt of what had happened weighed heavily on Tebo, but Lindy's resentment was deeper. No words could make it right. As the days passed, Lindy found herself more determined than ever to speak about her experience. She started researching the ethics of egg harvesting, the risks, the exploitation, the lack of regulation in the process. The more she learned, the more she realized just how little she understood about the entire procedure when she first agreed to it. The clinic had made sure to mention that they wouldn't be responsible for any damages during the procedure. They were legally covered, but she wasn't. The agreement she had signed seemed innocent enough at first. She had agreed to the terms without fully understanding the consequences. The clinic had clearly stated that they weren't liable for any complications or damages. And when Lindy had returned after the procedure, hoping to get medical attention for the pain, she learned the specialist wasn't available. Instead, they referred her to a different hospital. The cost of the new hospital and necessary treatments quickly added up. Lindy had to pay $1,300 for the surgery to repair the damage to her ovary. On top of that, she had to cover $250 for the medications and follow-up checkups. So from the $2,000 she had earned from donating 5 eggs, she was left with only $450 after covering the medical expenses. Lindy felt utterly defeated. The easy money she had hoped for had slipped through her fingers, leaving her emotionally and financially drained. She thought about how far she had fallen. She had made a decision based on the idea of quick money, but it had cost her so much more. She had hoped to use the money to make her life a little easier, but now she was just left with regret. She began questioning everything. Was it worth it? Was this the cost of being desperate? The procedure that had promised quick relief had turned into a disaster that left her physically scarred, emotionally shattered, and financially poorer than she had been before. She couldn't help but wonder about her future. Would she ever be able to have children? She had already sacrificed her body for money. How would she explain it to a future partner? Was she supposed to tell them about the egg donation, or would it be better to keep it a secret? Would anyone ever truly understand? If you were in Lindy's situation, would you have ever considered going through the egg donation procedure? And if you did go through with it, would you tell a future partner about your decision? Tell us why or why not in the comment section. We would love to hear. If you've watched this far, you must have enjoyed this story. We've got more interesting stories coming your way. Just hit the subscribe button below to stay in the loop, and don't forget to give this video a thumbs up. Up next is the story of Amina and Adora, two friends navigating the heavy burden of family expectations and dealing with the relentless question, when will you get married? Stay tuned.